Hi everyone, it's Catherine and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for today's video. I'm going to be sharing with you guys all my summer book recommendations. These are perfect for if you're taking a beach trip, road trip, whatever the occasion is. These are perfect summer reads that you will not be able to put down. So I'm so excited to share them and let's get started. To premise this video, I shot a summer book recommendations video last year. It was actually my first video that I ever uploaded to YouTube, and so this is kind of an updated version of that. It's gonna have a lot of new reads that I didn't put in that one, but if you're looking for maybe some older books, I would recommend going to check that one out too. So the first book I want to talk about, I think I might have mentioned it on my channel, is Beach Read by Emily Henry. And if you guys know anything about me, you know that Emily Henry is one of my favorite authors of all time. Beach Read is about a main character named January Andrews that moves into her father's beach house in North Bear Shores, Michigan. It's like a really small town. And her father just passed away, so she inherited this beach house that she had no idea about even existed. But the beach house was shared between her father and the father's mistress, which she also had no idea about. And I guess they were having an affair behind her mother's back, who was going through cancer. So she's going through a shitty situation. On top of that, January also just separated from her ex-fiance, and she is a romance writer who is struggling to write her next romance book as well. So there's just a lot going on and just like a really complicated situation. She obviously has unresolved feelings that she's trying to work through while she's here. And so once she moves into this beach house, she keeps running into Augustus, who is her college academic rival. Both January and Augustus are writers, but January is a romance writer and Augustus is a psychological thriller writer, so completely opposite genres, but they keep running into each other all over town. Eventually, January kind of starts talking to him and confides in him that she is really struggling to write her next romance book, just because the notion of romance for her has obviously been so messed up by everything that's going on, and Augustus is like, okay, let's make a bet. So they each have to write a book in the other genre. So January has to write a psychological thriller and Augustus has to write a romance, and whoever has the better book, basically the other person will help them promote it. There starts to be like a buildup of tension and like competition. So they go on all these like research dates basically to help the other person get in touch with their genre. But obviously things kind of take a heat from there. They start to develop feelings, it gets steamy, it gets romantic, and these research dates just turn into like real dates. And so this book is like honestly all the summer vibes that you could possibly want in a book. It's small town, academic rivals to lovers, grumpy sunshine. I love their banter and dynamic, and the writing is so good. There's even like Taylor Swift references. One of my favorite things about this book is that they both live in beach houses that are next to each other, so they're neighbors, and they have kind of like mirroring windows that face each other. And so they kind of mimic the Taylor Swift You Belong With Me video. They have like notepads that they write stuff on and they communicate through the windows. It's the freaking cutest thing I have ever read in my life. I think it's just perfect for like any kind of summer occasion. The next book I have to talk about is also Emily Henry, and it's The People We Meet on Vacation. I finally read this after so many of you guys recommended it for me, so I'm really excited to share my thoughts. This is the story of Poppy and Alex, who basically start out in college as acquaintances, like they barely talk to each other. Then they become best friends, and then they become like travel best friends. They go take trips. They're obviously like really two broke kids in college, so they take all these low budget trips, but it's always so much fun with them because they really make it out to be this grand adventure and they have so much fun with each other. And so obviously from that you start to see them develop a deeper bond, more than friends, veering into lovers, but then something happens. This book alternates between past and present, and so over the course of the book, you start to see what happened that kind of dissolved their bond and made them go separate ways. And basically what it comes down to is that they really wanted different things in life. Poppy is the kind of person who really doesn't want to settle down. She wants to always be on the go, kind of see a different place every day, have new experiences, and not have really like a domestic lifestyle kind of thing. And I honestly relate to that so much. Like I've never felt more seen than Poppy's character, because I feel like that is all like, that's just all the Sagittarius energy that I have, is like always wanting to be on the go, having new experiences, doing new things. And yeah, I don't know, I just really related to that so hard. And Alex is basically the opposite of that. So he is very like, I want to settle down, have a home, have a family, have a very stable lifestyle, which also appeals to me, but not more than the having life experiences and traveling and stuff. So yeah, very opposite lifestyles. It really comes down to they wanted just different things in life, and so they're not really compatible at that time. And so there's several years that passed since they kind of took a trip that went wrong, and they basically never spoke after that. Things got weird and they just kind of, you know, went their separate ways. Poppy is now a writer for a travel magazine, and she decides to basically do a last-ditch effort to reach out to Alex all these years later and ask him to come on a trip with her that would be paid by the magazine. Turns out it was actually not paid by the magazine. And so they go on this trip, Poppy kind of assuming that things would be exactly the same as they were all those years ago when they were in college traveling together. But they really start to dig into the past of what went wrong in their relationship so long ago, and things just get messy. Things kind of go wrong during the trip. There's minor inconveniences, and they're just really like forced to face their issues. The kind of turning point of this book is that they both start to see that they've really changed as people. They no longer really want the same things in life. They kind of have, you know, not sacrificed, but just their desires have changed because they've realized that the missing piece for them in their lives is each other, and that's been the missing piece to their happiness. And so they're willing to kind of not give up. I don't know what the right word is, but they're willing to really make it work. And I think that's just a really beautiful thing, because I feel like that's so realistic in so many relationships. Like, I've certainly felt that way about mine. Like, not that I've exactly settled, but just that, like, I want a life with this person, right? And I'm willing to do whatever it takes for us to create that life without sacrificing our identities as well. And I feel like that's a really like beautiful concept. This is a really like prime example book of just wrong person, right time, but also like with time, maybe this is the right person for me. And I think I really love kind of the whole message behind the book, and I think that's why it's one of my favorites. Probably ranks higher than Beach Read for me. I'm gonna put that out there right now. But yeah, that's kind of a summary of this book. It's perfect for traveling. It's a travel romance. Obviously, you get to kind of go all these different places with the characters in the book, which is something I really like. It's kind of this soft tension build up. And then there's like this one scene, which I always think of it as the Notebook scene, because it's like raining really hard, and it's kind of they're like reuniting and getting back together, and they you know, kiss in the rain and stuff. And I can't even describe it. I feel like you just have to go read this. But it's a beautiful book, second chance, friends to lovers, obviously. I have one more book to talk about that's by Emily Henry, and that is Happy Place. It is her most recent release, and I am so obsessed with this book. Happy Place follows the story of ex-fiancés Harriet and Wynn. They're fiancés that are no longer together. They just broke up, and they come to stay at this cottage that they regularly stay at with their group of friends. This is the cottage that they have grown up going to every summer. It's the cottage where they fell in love, basically, and just developed this bond with a group of friends. This is actually the last week that they're gonna spend because their friend's dad is selling it. And so it's filled with like a lot of emotion already, because they're getting rid of this place where they have always kind of came to escape to life together. And two of Harriet and Wynn's friends that are there are actually getting married at the end of the week at the cottage. So Harriet and Wynn basically make this agreement to, in order to not like ruin the wedding vibes, they're going to pretend to be a couple for one more week, because they just can't find it within themselves to tell their friends that they broke up. And so they're just gonna fake date for a week, which we have witnessed in past romance books never works out well. As the week unravels, it's clear that there's all this tension building up, because Harriet and Wynn obviously still love each other. They have all these unresolved feelings that they still have to work out. And there's actually a lot of like secrets going on in their friend group that are not really revealed until throughout. And so it's just like this constant like emotional turmoil that's happening within the group as they're kind of separating apart, trying to deal with the fact that this cottage is being sold, which is really like this cottage has like really been their refuge this whole time for them to really escape their lives. So it's like really messy emotionally for this whole week that's happening. And obviously Wynn and Harriet still love each other, so they're trying to like work through that while they keep up the appearance of a couple. So Okay, I know I said that I don't rank these. I like can't rank them, but I feel like this is my favorite book for a couple of reasons. And I think it's because in comparison to the other books, this book is about so much more than just like romantic love, because it's about friendships as well. And I feel like I'm at a very similar stage in my life. This book is also about growing up and seeing your friends kind of grow up as well, and how you change as people. And I think kind of that concept of like, okay, you reunite after you've been apart for so long, but how do you like fit back together because you're so different and your lives are different and don't always like sync up, you know? And I think I'm in a very similar place with my friends, is like trying to figure out how do we keep this friendship alive, even though sometimes it feels like it is falling apart, like there's pieces that fall apart, and there are just things that are obviously never going to be the same again. And I think that's like really hard to cope with. Oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna cry in this video. I don't know why this is making me so emotional. I think it's something that I've just been thinking about a lot, and oh my god, I need like 5 minutes. The other thing I want to say about this book is that I think just the concept of like the cottage is so symbolic, because it's been this place where they've all gone to escape life, and like time literally stops for them, right? Like for this period of time, it's just about them together. Everything is the same, like they're just having fun, they're just enjoying life, and it's just about the love that they have between each other. So the fact that, you know, that's going to be the very last time that things are ever the same is like a really scary thought. And I just can't get past that. Like I think about my first friend that is really close to me, and she just got married this past year. And just the fact that we're never really going to hang out again without her being like a married woman is so surreal to me. Like I think about my friends right now as being like young 20s, like all the feminine energy, like going out having adventures, and just to think that there's going to be a point where we're not those people anymore is like extremely frightening for some reason. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. It's just kind of the things that this book made me think about and just made me like super emotional. So that's why I highly recommend if you're like in that period of your life as well, where things are like really changing, where your friends are growing up and becoming different people, because I think that is so true about this. So yeah. The next book I have is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, which I haven't reviewed yet, but it's something that I read this year. And it is the story of Macy and Elliot. They are two kids who grow throughout their childhood and throughout their teens together. So it takes place right after Macy's mom passes away, and her father is looking to take her someplace away from the city just to get away from everything for her to spend her weekends and her summers at. So he buys this cabin that's right next to Elliot's family, and so Macy and Elliot grow up together. They bond over their common interest in books and the written word, and so she literally has a closet that's like a converted library in her room, which literally is my dream, and they just go in there and freaking read together. I think it's like adorable. So they grow up having like a really close bond. Obviously they develop friends into lovers, but then something happens and they split apart, and you don't know what it is until the end of the story, but you keep reading and eventually find out why. This book is also told between past and present, so each chapter from the past is like about how they met and how their friendship formed, and then the other chapters in the present are like how they currently are and how they find each other again. And so they end up reuniting after 10 years. I feel like a lot of time passes through this book, but essentially Macy is now like a nurse working in San Francisco, and Elliot is just trying to get back into her life again and make their relationship work. But obviously there are past issues that need to be resolved, and you have to find out like what happened to drive them apart in order for them to get back together again and have a shot at fixing whatever went wrong. So I will give you a warning right now that the plot twist will make you bawl your eyes out, because I was literally like on the floor crying over this book. But it is so good. I love the relationship. It's like very sweet, innocent, friends to lovers. So if that is your vibe, please pick this up right now. My favorite thing about this is that the fact that it's like a girl falls first, but it's boy falls harder for sure, because Elliot is like the sweetest boy you've ever seen, and it's like all the effort that he puts in is freaking adorable. I think this is honestly perfect for like a foresty mountain vacation, or somewhere cold, like if you were gonna take a vacation in Tahoe, this would be the book that I would bring with me. The next book I have to talk about is called The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther, and I feel like this is just the perfect summer book. It gives me all the summer I turn pretty vibes. This book is about a beach house in Martha's Vineyard where there's a family wedding being held. This wedding is the first event that's really happened after the main character's sister has died. And so the main character, her name is Meredith, is going through this grieving period of just basically trying to feel alive again. And so the family, the week before the wedding, is playing this giant game of assassin, and she makes friends with this guy from the other side of the groom's family named Whit. And her and Whit team up basically to win the game of assassin and to help each other out. But soon enough, their relationship develops into something more, and I think she is kind of like struggling with allowing herself to have feelings for Whit. Whit really brings her out of her shell, and there's actually a connection between Whit and the sister that you don't really see until the end, but I think it's just the most like really wholesome story. And I just really love this book for some reason. I feel like it caught my eye a lot more than I thought it was going to. I thought it was just going to be like a really just like small, just simple summer book, but it was so much more than that, and I highly recommend picking it up. The next book is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and it's a really cute book. It's about a girl in high school named Liz, and she recently reunites with a person from her past named Wes. Wes and Liz grew up being neighbors, and Wes basically would just tease her and like pull her pigtails. It was that kind of relationship with him. And now Wes is back in town after he moved away, and they're both in high school, so they reunite and basically all of that resumes going on. But Wes eventually agrees to help Liz by fake dating her because she wants to get the attention of another boy that she has a crush on. And so they start this whole charade, and it develops into this like really cute little friendship. Soon Liz starts to like realize that she has feelings for Wes. I really like this book. I think it gives me very much like Lola and Cricket vibes from that series. I can't remember what it's called, but if you know what I'm talking about. So it's fake dating, second chance, enemies to lovers, all the cute little things that you want to see in the high school romance. And I honestly love Liz's character. So Liz is like a hopeless romantic. She loves watching rom-coms. It's something that her and her mom used to do together before she passed away. And I feel like Liz is just such a like representation of what us reader girlies are now, because I think that for sure was like me in high school. It's just like romanticizing every little interaction, romanticizing movies, books. Like that's what we're known for, right? So I feel like she's such a like accurate representation of that. The last book I want to talk about in depth is Malibu Rising by Jenkins Reid. I feel like this book is so slept on. I think her other books get like so much hype for good reason, but I think this book is actually equally as good, so I wanted to include it in this video. But this book also alternates between past and present between the chapters, and in the present it talks about a family of surfer siblings who are all kind of famous in different ways. And then in the past chapters, it's actually the story of their parents that's kind of progressing throughout the book. And so it's how their parents met, fell in love, and also how the relationship evolved into this toxic cycle of their dad cheating on their mom, and her mom kind of spiraling out of control, drinking herself to death basically, and like aging prematurely and just losing a lot of life in her eyes, just as the dad continually leaves her for other women, and the siblings basically grow up having to witness this dynamic between their parents, and the parents eventually become divorced. It's just a really messy situation that they have to go through. Now flashing back to the present, all the siblings in some way or another are actually repeating the patterns of like the abuse that went on in their parents' relationships. And so you see that in kind of different forms. I think throughout the books, they're faced with the decision of whether they want to continue to be stuck in this pattern, or they somehow find their ways to break out of these patterns. And so I think it's a really like eye-opening book, especially for children of divorced parents. I think for me, I definitely saw myself in that a little bit. And I think it's just like a very cathartic book in that way. So I honestly think this book is so slept on and so underrated. Highly encourage you all watching this video to pick this up, please, just for that sake of like just giving it more attention, because I think it honestly deserves it so much. So that's all the books I'm going to discuss in this video because the sun is literally setting over my head right now. But I thought I would just do like a quick compilation of all the other books that I think would also make really good summer reads that are just really fast reads and just books that you don't really have to think too much about. So I'm gonna kind of just show them here and then we'll end the video. To start off, we have The American Roommate Experiment and The Spanish Love Deception, both by Elena Armas. Book Lovers, also by Emily Henry. The Love Hypothesis, Love on the Brain, Loathe to Love You, it's like 3 short stories, and Love Theoretically, all by Ali Hazelwood. The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. When in Rome by Sarah Adams. Funny You Should Ask by Elissa Sussman. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn, Hugo, and Daisy Jones and the Six, both by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Twisted Series by Anna Huang. And The Addicted Series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. With that, I am going to end the video here, but I hope that you pick up some of the books that I talked about today and that you really enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will link all my socials in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!